scale animation over the entire duration of the clip. Now we have a small scale animation. Let's add also some motion blur by clicking on the use composition shutter angle, and I'm going to put it to 1. Someone just imported a bunch of clips here in Premiere Pro, some video files, a sound clip and also some offline media, and we're here to edit this in a more advanced way. Let's put one clip here into our timeline. Hello, I'm Alex and I'm a filmmaker. For this class I'm going to live right inside Adobe Premiere Pro, so hopefully it won't crash. But anyway, you're here to learn something new about this program. For this class you need a little bit of knowledge, and if you're coming from my beginner class about Adobe Premiere Pro, you're perfectly fine. In this class we are going to discover the more advanced way of using Premiere Pro and its more advanced functions. And after following this class you can start editing like a pro in this program right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the first lesson. Ooh, it's so messy here in Premiere Pro. Audio files, video files, offline media files. We're here to make file management. I'm glad that you joined my class and welcome into the first lesson. In this lesson we are going to talk about file management. First of all, Adobe Premiere Pro has a function to import folders into it, but you can create also folders right into the program by clicking on the new bin icon. First of all, I'm going to create 2 folders or maybe 3, because the first of all is video, then audio, and the third one, or how many do you want, are images, vectors, or whatever you use into your project. First of all, video, and I'm going to drag all the video files right here into the video folder. Again, audio, the same thing, all the files right here, put them into this folder. In my case I have also some images. I'm going also to put them into a separate folder. Now we have our sequence and the 3 folders, but if we are going to open the video folder, here's a big mess. So what I'm going to do is to make another folder, which I'm going to call drone. I'm going to put all the drone shots into this folder to have it a little bit more clean. And again, from my second camera, DSLR, I'm going to put all the footages right in this folder. Again, let's go back and go back into the audio panel. Here I'm going again to create a new folder which is going to be called music. Here I'm going to drag the music file, and also I have also some sound effects, which again will be dragged in the sound effects folder. And so on you can do for every part. I'm going to go back into the video folder, here into the DSLR folder. Here I'm going to toggle the list view icon, which shows me some tabs. You can change these tabs. Default are multiple tabs, but if you're right clicking on this and metadata display, you can go right here and you can choose what type of which panels do you want. As example, I'm only using sometimes good, and I'm also creating a new tab which I'm going to call lens, just by clicking on add property. As example, I have only 3 parts of footage which are good enough, so I'm going just to click on them. And this was the lesson about file management. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. We have here a really good friend into Adobe Premiere Pro, which is right next to me, the toolbar. In this lesson we are going to talk just about that. First of all, let's take every tool separately. So let's click on the first one, the track select tool. What the track select tool does is just to select everything from your footage from that clip on. As example, I have here 3 clips into my timeline. If I click on it will select from that clip on all the clips on the track. This is really good if you want to move the entire line a little bit farther. And now let's click on the second one, which is the ripple edit tool. What this tool does is to shorten your clip, but also to ripple delete the small parts which left. This is really good if you want to make a pancake editing, and this will cover in future lesson in this class. The rolling edit tool makes almost the same like the ripple edit tool. And now let's jump to the next one, which is the ripple stretch tool. You know that time when you want to cut on the beat of the music, which we'll cover in the future lessons in this class? Well, for this is the rate stretch tool. If you make a time wrapping but your clip doesn't fit perfectly, you can take the rate stretch tool and it will simply speed up your clip depending on how much. And now the razor tool, which just simply makes a cut where you click. And now let's take the slip tool. What this tool does is just to simply move your clip from to the right by retaining the same size of the clip and the same position. And now let's take this slide tool. What this slide tool does is just to move everything to the desired direction which you drag it. As example, I'm clicking again on the middle clip and it will drag also the middle clip, but also the first clip a little bit larger and make the third one smaller. Let's take the pen tool now, which simply creates keyframe. Like you see, if you're expanding a track, then you have a small yellow line, which means there is the keyframe. You can click on that part and you can create multiple keyframes. Again, with the selection tool, you can drag that keyframe lower and you can make an animation just onto your time. The pen tool is really good for time mapping, not just for opacity like I showed you in this example, but time mapping we are going to cover a little bit farther in this class. Now it's time for the hand tool. The hand tool just simply takes your timeline and scroll it away. This can be also simply done using the scroll wheel onto your mouse. And now the zoom tool, like the name says, it simply just zooms in, and if you're clicking on Alt, it will zoom out. Here is an alternative for this by pressing the plus and minus key. And this was the lesson about our good old friend, the toolbar. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Whoa, I was going super fast because now everyone wants to edit super fast. That's why we are here in this lesson. First of all, you need to know the shortkeys for every tool right here from the toolbar and from everything that you can do here into the timeline. That's why we are here. So let's start with the toolbar. If you hover over a tool here into the toolbar, you can see the name and the shortkey. As example, I can go here to the pen tool and I can press U. If I'm going back over the selection tool, I can press V to get it back. Of course, these are the basic shortkeys, but you can go into edit and into keyboard shortcuts. Here you have every function which Adobe Premiere Pro can do. The razor tool is normally to the C key, but I changed it because I didn't want to have it to the CK key anymore. So I'm going here to edit and I put C. Like you see, the shortcut is already to another function applied. So I'm going here, add edit. What this means is to trim exactly on the part. Of course, this means also that the track needs to be selected. So I'm edit this again and put C. Again for ripple delete and trim ripple delete. These are some really good shortkeys which you can use when you are making talking head shots. And this was the lesson about the most important shortkeys. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Keyframes, you find them everywhere, but how to use them? In my previous class I showed you how to make this. But let's get this a little bit more advanced with some keyframes right here. Our good old friend, the keyframe. Let's start. I want to make some effects onto it. So I'm going to go into video effects, generate, and I'm going to take the circle effect. What this does is just to simply create a circle onto your clip. It can be whatever, also text, whatever you want. In this lesson I'm going just to take a simple circle, nothing too special. I'm going just to animate the center position from left, let's say, to right, like this. Little bit farther, like this. So I have a simple scale in a simple moving animation. The animation is really boring. And not that it's boring, but you can see that it's a fake animation. And like you see in other animations or some like you see in other animations or in some other animations or in minimal titles or whatever you want, the animation are really smooth. So let's start. First of all, there are multiple ways of creating a keyframe. There are the normal keyframes, which are also here in my back, which are just simple keyframes, linear keyframes, which are called. Let's make it a little bit more bigger, and I'm going to select both keyframes right here. First, click on whichever you want, and go to temporal interpolation. You have multiple ways. In this lesson we are going just to focus on Bezier. Bezier makes the animation more fluid. It starts slower, in the middle is the most fastest, and slowly it stops. This is the easiest way, but you can do this also manually. Let's select one single keyframe, go back into temporal interpolation, and you can choose easy out. What this keyframe does is again to start slower and gradually makes the speed faster. Again, from the second one I'm going to choose easy ease in. Again, this does the same thing. So we have a small animation. It's more interesting and more natural than the normal linear animations. But let's put this onto the next level. Let's dive into the keyframe settings. I'm going to click on the arrow beside the stopwatch like this, and there you can see the animation curve. The animation curve is the path of the animation, of the speed of the animation. Like you see, it starts really slow, in the middle it goes a little bit faster, and at the end again slow. But you can manipulate them. Click on the first keyframe and you can have the levers. I'm going to drag the first keyframe a little bit to the right, like this. Like you see, the curve change a little bit. So we can see it will start slow until almost until the end, and then it's at the most, it has the fastest speed, and then gradually it goes again down. Let's see the animation. You can see it starts really slow, then makes a really fast movement, and then again slow. This means animation curve. In Adobe Premiere Pro doesn't have such good graphic. In Adobe Premiere Pro you can't tweak the animation so much like in After Effects with the graph editor, but it's enough because here we are into an advanced class of Adobe Premiere Pro. This means the keyframe, again, you can make this, you can go farther by pulling on the levers. As example, I'm going to make the middle part really fast. So like you see, it goes really slow until the middle, and then really slow. It will stop again really slow. What this will do is to make a more natural animation, because like you see, we are not robots and we can't move our hand perfectly fast at the same constant speed. That's why we start a little bit slower, in the middle we are the most fastest, and then at the end we are again stopping slow. That's why these keyframes are more natural. Now you can play around with anything of these keyframes. Best about Bezier keyframes works with position, rotation, scale animation, not especially for colors or opacity, because then you can't see exactly the difference. And this was the lesson about advanced keyframing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. grab your earpods and start mixing sounds together. First of all, I have here an entire clip. First of all, I have here a really long audio file, which I cut it into 3 parts because it was too long and I wanted to have just a short sequence. So what I did is just to find the right places where I can place a cut. For this you need to find places which have almost the same sound, and if they are not perfectly matched together to not have a hard cut, you can apply across this constant power onto them. Again, this is good if your sound doesn't match perfectly, but if it completely doesn't match, you shouldn't make this. If for you sounds both parts well, but they are not sounding together well, then you can move them, like as example here. As example here, I can move them. Let's say I would have this clip right there at the waveform. You need to make it constant. As example here, where the waveform is continuous from one clip to the other one. If I would cut it like this, they wouldn't match perfectly. So what you should do is to cut exactly where you think it's okay. But if it doesn't sound well, what you should do is to move your clip a little bit to the left or to the right until it matches perfectly. And again, if there is some sort of noise or different things into your song, then you can apply a constant power. Now let's edit onto the beat. You see these nice videos where the editor had cut it on the beat and the music flow perfectly together with the sound. Well, it's not so hard. Play the music back into your earphones, and onto the beat you should press on the M key on your keyboard to place markers. After making all these things, now you can cut on the beat. As example, I have here the first clip. I can click on the first marker and then shorten this clip until it can be right there. Go to the second one, put the second clip, and so on. But let's say you don't want to cut exactly there because the clip is too short, you can't see it and whatever. But what you can do is to go into the effect controls right here into the effect controls and make a keyframe for the scale, and then again at the beginning. The first keyframe, right click on it and choose hold for the temporal interpolation, so that you will not have an animation. Here you can also add time wrapping, which I covered in my previous class about Adobe Premiere Pro, but you can also time wrap on some parts where the music goes slower, and on the parts where it goes faster, again time wrap faster. And this was the lesson about editing onto the music. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Whoa, stop. Now it's time to stabilize something, because like see we have now an earthquake. Let's make it reverse. First of all, how to stabilize I showed you in my previous class, but now let's make it a little bit more interesting with some advanced stabilizing. Now I have this clip. First of all, let's throw a word stabilizer onto it right now. First of all, there are 2 types of results: the no motion and the smooth motion. The no motion will try to make your shot as steady as possible, as it would be made from a tripod. Smooth motion will just make your shot smoother, as it would be filmed from a gimbal. Again, smoothness will be available just if you choose smooth motion, and you can choose how much word stabilizer should add shakiness into your shot. And the method there are 4 methods. The first of all is position, which will just move your clip around to stabilize it. Position, scale, and rotation will move your clip into position, rotation, and also scale. And perspective will try to shift the clip into all directions. And space warp will analyze some parts of your footage which should be shifted. This will give you the best results if you just want to stabilize a part of your footage, but it depends on the VFX you want to make, or the story, or whatever you want to make with that shot. After that, if we will go a little bit below, we have framing. You have just to stabilize, and it will let the black borders stabilize and crop, and it will also crop into your scene so that you will have some sort of perfect 16:9 format. And stabilize, crop and auto scale will try to scale in as it would be already stabilized without. And now stabilize and synthesize edges will try to not crop in so much into your clip. But in my opinion, you should choose stabilize, crop and auto scale. You have also here how much Premiere Pro has auto scaled your clip, and you can also add some scale. You can also scale in a little bit more. Into the advanced tab, you have the detailed analytics, which will try to make more tracking points onto your footage to make it a little bit more precise. And now let's try to make some effects with the well-known warp stabilizer. I'm going to nest the clip right here. And here I'm going to apply again the warp stabilizer effect onto it. And it's ready. Like you see, we have a stabilized clip. But if we are going into this scene and I'm going to put a tripod shot, I have a clip of me editing and I'm going to put it right on top of this is shot from a tripod. If I'm going back here, you can see that it adds fake handheld move. And this was the lesson about advanced warp stabilizing and also a cool effect which you can do with this warp stabilizer. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Effects. Effects. That's what about Premiere Pro has to say. There is an entire panel just with effects, and there are 3 buttons on top of it. The first one is our accelerated effects. This will filter out all the effects which are graphic card accelerated. Like I showed you in previous lessons, you have 3 lines over your edit. Yellow means that your graphic card can handle it. So if you apply graphic card accelerated effect, that means that your line over that clip will be turned into yellow because your graphic card can handle it. So by clicking on this button, it will be shown every effect which is graphic card accelerated. Then the second button is 32-bit color. These are especially made for 32-bit colors, sequences, compositions, or maybe clips. Let's say I have multiple effects. I have a simple portion with a drone. And let's take the transform effect, which does exactly like the motion effect does, but it can also add motion blur. So what I'm going to do is just make a simple scale animation. Just check uniform scale, and I'm going to make a simple scale animation over the entire duration of the clip. Now we have a small scale animation. Let's add also some motion blur by clicking on the use composition shutter angle, and I'm going to put it to 180 degrees to get a natural motion blur. Now I have a pretty nice scaling, but let's say I have 100 shots like this and I want to add on all a scaling. So I can right click on the transform effect and save preset. Of course you can select all your effects like this using Ctrl and click, and right click and save preset. But in this case I'm going just to create a preset for the transform effect. I'm going to call it scale in. There are 3 options: scale, anchor in point and anchor out point. If you have an animation, as example, let's say I'm having an animation just until the middle of the clip. I have an animation and then the animation stops. So I'm saving this again as a preset, and I have 3 options. Scale, which means I have animation for, let's say, 1 second and the clip is 2 seconds long. And if I'm applying the same preset on a clip which is 4 seconds long, it will stretch the animation out. Anchor in point, let's say I have again one clip from 2 seconds and the second one of 4 seconds. It will not stretch out the animation, it will just put it right into the in point. And the last one does exactly the same but into the out point. After that I can save this as a preset. I'm going to name this scale in. I'm also going to write a description, scale in, and I'm going to click OK. Right here into the presets folder, it will appear our preset. So if I'm going to my preset is now set to scale, so I'm going to put this on every little clip right here. I'm selecting all of this and apply this. Now you can see if I'm selecting anything of this effect, you can see that the animation will be stretched or scaled down until it will match to my desired clip. As example, in this clip, which is smaller, it has just a small animation right here. I have for my tutorials, I have my animation where I'm presenting my name. So let's drag it into the clip right here, which like this. And this is just a simple green screen made in After Effects, because I don't want to open After Effects every time I'm making these tutorials, and it's just a simple scale animation. But I don't want every time to take the ultra key effect to key out the green. So what I'm going to do is, I have here some preset made right here, which simply keys out the green directly, and I already have the animation keyed out. Again, this isn't an animation, so it's just some effects applied, but this can be also for animation, effect, also for motion, opacity, time wrapping, and whatever you want. And this was the lesson about effects and presets. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Wait a little. Here's a little bit. There, of course, there aren't no colors. On this topic we are going to focus in this lesson about color correcting. First of all, I have here a clip. It's not color corrected, it's simply raw footage. It's not log, it's just a standard profile here on my Sony camera. First of all, there are two ways of color correcting, the really roughly way and the more advanced way. First of all, the more roughly way is just to search for the curves, RGB curves effect, drag it onto your clip from the effects control. On the master, simply create an S curve and it will already color correct your footage. First of all, go into video effects, color correction, and then choose three-way color corrector. This is exactly the same thing like Lumetri color in the Adobe Premiere Pro CC. This video is from a product video that I shot, and you need to have some more colors to want to taste from that paper and so on. So I'm going to add, like you see, there are some shadows here. So to make the shadows more prominent, I can, from the first wheel, I can add a little bit more red to the shadows to make it a little bit more tasty. And again, the midtones, I'm gonna go a little bit to the yellow part, because this is a commercial for for a spicy sauce, so I want to have that warm tone of fire, so I want to give the midtones some yellow. The highlights, because I want to have some red here, I can also push them a little bit to the red, not too much, but just a little bit, because this is a more spacey commercial. This is the first thing that you can do in color correcting. But now let's go a little bit down to the saturation. What many beginners do is to increase their saturation because they think it looks good, there are prominent colors, but this is a mistake. First of all, master saturation, I'm going just to increase a little bit to get some more interesting colors. Secondary color corrector, what this does is just, if I want to apply just here onto the red color, I can color correct only to the red. So first of all, I'm going to show mask, and this is my mask of red colors. So I'm going to expand this a little bit until I get my paper perfectly into. For this you should go a little bit in depth, but now let's see, I have my entire paper. And now let's say I want just to color correct that most interesting part, the most yellow, the most reddish part of my clip. So I'm going to close this hue, saturation. I can also tweak a little bit here until I get my entire paper. Then auto leveling, what this will do is to auto level the blacks to black, the whites to white, and so on to get the more natural way. This is a good way, but also some sort of bad way, because of course this will color correct your footage perfectly, but sometimes it can give weird result because color correcting depends on what story you want to tell through the color correction, through the shots you took, through depending on the mood you want to tell through the color correction. Again, shadows, midtones and highlights, you can manipulate them to have a little bit more saturation, more colors. Color correcting means not just to follow a template or a lot. No, this can be just to leave your creativity, to let it do what you want. Try every setting. If it doesn't work well, press Ctrl and Z and try again with a new setting right there. Color correcting is just about creativity. You can make whatever you want with these clips. Of course, about color correcting you can make an entire class just on this topic, but because we have an advanced lesson about Adobe Premiere Pro and not about color correcting, and this was the lesson about color correcting. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. I just finished some After Effects compositions and animations, and now let's bring them into Premiere Pro. Well, it goes super fast if you know how to use them. You know that time when you need to import the sound or the video of the clip in Audition or in After Effects, and you need perfectly to match them to try again, because After Effects hasn't such good things when it comes to trimming videos and so. Well, you're here right. I have the same shot right here and I want to import it into After Effects. Just right click, replace with After Effects composition. And also for sound effects, again, right click and edit clip in Adobe Audition. And that's it. Just start editing in Audition or After Effects and you're good to go to start editing back in Premiere Pro. Also, one tip is to make a duplicate of your desired clip by holding Alt and dragging it up, because it will replace the clip with the After Effects composition. And you should have also some backup if you want now to make the effects in Premiere Pro, as example. After you're ready with all of your effects and came back in Premiere Pro and you see your video, you can go back into After Effects and it will immediately be synchronized again with After Effects without any problem. And this was the lesson about Adobe Dynamic Link. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next lesson. And now we came to the end of our class. Thank you so much for watching and I hope that you learned something new in this wonderful program Adobe Premiere Pro. If you want to learn even more about Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects and also cinematography, feel free to check out my other classes here on Skillshare and also my YouTube channel with filmmaking tutorials. For the class project, just color correct a footage part of, just make something in Premiere Pro, because not the class project is important. Important is that you practice what I showed you. So please practice, and also if you don't have footage, then you can download the footage that I used right in this class from the class description below. I'm going to review every class project which you will see. I hope that you learned something new and thank you so much for watching. We have here a really good friend into Adobe Premiere Pro, which is right next to me, the toolbar. In this lesson we are going to talk just about that. First of all, let's take every tool separately. So let's click on the first one, the Track Select tool. What the Track Select tool does is just to select everything from your footage from that clip on. As example, I have here 3 clips into my timeline. If I click on it will select from that clip on all the clips on the track. This is really good if you want to move the entire line a little bit farther. And now let's click on the second one, which is the Ripple Edit tool. What this tool does is to shorten your clip, but also to ripple delete the small parts which left. This is really good if you want to make a pancake editing, and this will cover in future lesson in this class. The Rolling Edit tool makes almost the same like the Ripple Edit tool. And now let's jump to the next one, which is the Ripple Stretch tool. You know that time when you want to cut on the bit of the music, which we'll cover in the future lessons in this class? Well, for this is the Rate Stretch tool. If you make a time wrapping but your clip doesn't fit perfectly, you can take the Rate Stretch tool and it will simply speed up your clip depending on how much. And now the razor tool, which just simply makes a cut where you click. And now let's take the slip tool. What this tool does is just to simply move your clip from to the right by retaining the same size of the clip and the same position. And now let's take this slide tool. What this slide tool does is just to move everything to the desired direction which you drag it. As example, I'm clicking again on the middle clip and it will drag also the middle clip, but also the first clip a little bit larger and make the third one smaller. Let's take the pen tool now, which simply creates keyframe. Like you see, if you're expanding a track, then you have a small yellow line, which means there is the keyframe. You can click on that part and you can create multiple keyframes. Again, with the selection tool, you can drag that keyframe lower and you can make an animation just onto your time. The pen tool is really good for time remapping, not just for opacity like I showed you in this example, but time remapping we are going to cover a little bit further in this class. Now it's time for the hand tool. The hand tool just simply takes your timeline and scroll it away. This can be also simply done using the scroll wheel onto your mouse. And now the zoom tool, like the name says, it simply just zooms in, and if you're clicking on Alt, it will zoom out. Here is an alternative for this by pressing the plus and minus key. And this was the lesson about our good old friend, the toolbar. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next lesson.